2016-2020 period. He's running about 10 points ahead of where he was against Joe Biden in 2020. He's running significantly ahead of where he was in 2016 when he won against Hillary Clinton, about 6 points. There is an enormous swing towards Donald Trump. Now, there is a lot of uncertainty because there are more third-party candidates with name recognition than in past elections. That's true. The thing is, if Trump maintains any form of lead against Joe Biden going into the general, he's got it. He's clinched it. And he will be the nominee. Again, as I've analyzed before, there are only really three things that can stop him. Trump is dead, Trump is incapacitated, or Trump is prevented from being the nominee by the GOP itself in a brokered convention. In the third case, it would be political suicide. In the other cases, it leads to political uproar and tumult anyway, because Donald Trump is clearly liked by most of the Republican Party. He's riding above 60, which means that he's got now near a supermajority of Republican voters behind him. It doesn't matter if he comes in behind that in Iowa. I expect that he will. I expect that Donald Trump will lose 5 to 10 points on average against DeSantis specifically in Iowa. He will still win the state, but it'll be by an underwhelming margin. DeSantis fans will cheer at this and say, look, our guy's got the charisma, our guy's got the stamina to do it. He's the only one. We'll kind of cheapen Nikki Haley, who just got the Koch endorsement, actually. The DeSantis fans really flubbed messaging on that one, though, because they immediately got TDS instead of pointing out, hey, do you really want the Koch brothers candidate? I don't think so, because it's not the same GOP that it was in 2012. They really screwed up with that one. They could have gotten a victory, but they did the typical Republican thing where they stashed defeat from the jaws of victory, and it was predictable that would happen too. You can go on through this, link in the description archive, of course, talking about Trump running so far ahead of where he was before. He hasn't led by this amount before, which is near, it's 2.3 now as of new polling, but it was 2.6. He's getting up into the upper 40s. There's really not a lot of breathing room for Biden to be able to recoup unless the economy magically gets better, or unless the border crisis is solved. Can I please ask anyone in the audience at the moment, do you think that Joe Biden wants to or can solve the border crisis? And as far as the economy, every time things go bad, we're told that it's completely out of his hands. So I don't know exactly what they expect him to do. I would expect that Trump has a much better than 50-50 chance of being reelected as the president. He could easily do this from a jail cell. I think that he would definitely, if they give him house arrest at Mar-a-Lago, which under the circumstances might be their only option, I think that if he runs a digital campaign, he wins. I think there'd be a 75-80% chance of that happening. Joe Biden is monumentally disliked, and Donald Trump has a very, very rabid core fan base, which appears to have grown in the last years. It doesn't appear to have shrunk. It's larger now. It's more powerful now. I think that in the end, another problem is this. Joe Biden is not doing well with young voters because Joe Biden decided to piss off that core Gen Z voting demographic by offering the student loan panacea and then giving absolutely nothing to the youth. In the end, his student loan debt grift, in the end, what he was able to pass only applies to older individuals, people who are over 35 effectively, because of the standard involved where you have to have made the payments on a consistent basis, missing at most 1 or 2 of them for over a decade. Well, the problem is that somebody who's 24 has not been making student loan payments for that long. And so that basically, that gets you some Gen X voters. A handful of the older millennials might qualify. That's basically what you're looking at. And so I think people will be surprised at what happens in this current election. I'll probably be surprised too. Anything can and does happen within U.S. politics, generally speaking. This election is totally off the chain. We've got so many unknown quantities going forward. We've got Donald Trump being under the possibility that he's found guilty, the possibility he's in a jail cell, the possibility he's under house arrest. They might just fine him, but whatever. Joe Biden is old and feeble. He could croak, leaving a power vacuum within the Dem party. Again, Trump went against Newsom in most of the matchup polling too. So the idea that they're going to swap Biden out at the last moment to save the party, they can try. They'd probably get closer, but I would still favor Trump to win. Actually, I would still assume that Donald Trump would have an advantage. Doesn't mean that he wins, but he has the advantage. Even when you match up against 2016 polling, in which Trump won the election, he was running 2.5 behind Hillary in the final matchup and 4.5 behind in the final round of polling, and he still managed to win. If he can do that, then if he's 2-3 points ahead, it should be a piece of cake, effectively. And so my hope is that Donald Trump is reelected. It'd be good for our country to have the ultimate redemption arc moment where Donald Trump is reelected, having been out for a term. He goes Grover Cleveland mode. The whole system is dogpiling him, and then he's reelected. I think that'd be a good thing. I think it would re-energize the country, and we'd have sound diplomacy again for another 4 years. Well, you can't go wrong with that. What he really needs to watch out for is who he chooses to be his running mate. Right now, the DeSantis fans are claiming that Nikki Haley is going to be who he chooses. I am pretty doubtful about that. I don't think that he would get along with a former employee that decided to stab him in the back. It would not be his forte to choose that person as running mate. Nonetheless, we're being assured that that's what she's being handed with the Koch endorsement. So everyone's talking about Gen X in the comment section there. Relax with the Gen X stuff, man. So yeah, I will be voting for Trump in 2012. He is the front runner, both well within the primaries and to an extent within the general election. If he is the nominee, I believe that he can actually win. I don't think there are enough ballot printers to overcome it either. There's too much momentum. I see a lot of black pillars saying it's impossible, but I don't really have any concrete reason to believe their claims. And also, this is the Vomit Out the Black Pill channel, so. Billy, good morning, Styx. Why is Jackson Hinkle, aka Marxist-Leninist, posting spent casings and machine gun links and passing it to his odd bullets? Because he's trying to get attention. He's a good capitalist. His entire model is to get a bunch of attention by spewing off the wall shit, and then people interact with the material, and you get money for it. He's got no reason to not be disingenuous. So, I wish him well on his capitalistic adventure. Gamer J007, the Kochs are the Uniparty. They interfered in a recall we initiated in Colorado in 2018, snatching defeat from the jaws of our guarantor Yeed victory. I'm convinced they did that intentionally. Probably did. Richard Z, thank you so much for all you do. If you're still looking for a good revolver, I recommend a Smith & Wesson R8. 8 shots of 357 Magnum ain't bad, and it feels great. Sounds like a cool gun. 357's nice. Nothing wrong with that. Next news story. The ceasefire agreement with regards to the Gaza Strip. It's being adhered to, kind of, sort of. We've got numerous problems with the current ceasefire agreement with regards to the war between Israel and Hamas. You've had Hamas launch several rocket attacks in the last 48 hours. Israel explicitly came out and said that that was a breach of the ceasefire agreement, but they didn't take any further action beyond that, as far as like dissolving the ceasefire or something, going back to mass bombing. They didn't conduct airstrikes. The IDF did raid one of those communities as well. which also is a breach of the ceasefire agreement. They're not supposed to do that. Hamas has a number of women and children still as hostages, and Israel is now making the extension of that, not truce, but ceasefire. It's not a long-term end solution, requisite on all of the women and children being sent back by Sunday. So they're saying, okay, basically, you've got until Sunday to give us the women and children. Otherwise, we're going to go back to war. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, because it's so tenuous. One of the problems is that a third-party group that wants to see the fighting continue can always false flag. They can get a couple of bottle rockets and fire them off from Gaza. It's not that hard. They can pass false intel off to the IDF. Hey, here's a real juicy kill for you. You should probably fucking take the shot. And then the IDF does, and then Hamas complains and decides that the ceasefire's over. We could see any of a number of things happen with regards to the situation. My thought is that because Western leadership, specifically in the United States, is very, very weak, is incapable of dealing with the situation, so that it's basically just Israel and Hamas doing this. It's not really involving the U.S. in the most direct sense. I know Blinken will talk to people. I know that Biden will talk it up and say, well, the U.S. is involved, man. We're an interested party. That's fine. The problem is that Hamas doesn't give a shit. And I don't think the Israelis give much of a shit either at this point, because you're not getting any solutions. It took 3 days to get any of the U.S. hostages back. We just barely got back the rest of them. They should have been front-ended. Joe Biden really screwed the pooch with regards to the deal in the first place by not making sure that instead of a bunch of Thai nationals, as far as the United States representing the situation supposedly was concerned, the U.S. nationals should have been back first. But they weren't. The other day, I had some like 4 or 5 year old little girl. She was returned. A couple more today, actually, I think, are on the docket. And we'll see if it actually happens, because everything's up in the air. But Biden clearly doesn't know what he's doing. In the absence of strong Western leadership over a nation that is effectively a feared state, you have that state negotiating on its own. Clearly, Netanyahu does not want to let the Israeli public down by letting off pressure. And so the ceasefire could be broken at any time, because both sides have a reason to want to launch the next salvo. My hope is that it holds. My hope is that the hostages are released, the fighting more or less ceases. Hopefully Gaza has running water at some point in the indefinite future, and that people leave each other alone. But I'm hoping in vain. And I know that I'm hoping in vain. This is one thing to be blackpilled about, the idea of peace in the Levant region, unless it's taken over by a third party. Like the United States decides, you know what, Judea is just going to be the 51st state. We're taking over all of what was Israel and Palestine and administering it ourselves as a territory, because there's no other choice involved. Otherwise, people are just going to massacre one another over and over, and we're tired of it. We're tired of pouring money into the region, so it's ours now. And so we're going to be a net olive exporter for the first time. Yay! Also, that natural gas off Gaza happens to be ours as well, so fuck off. You could do worse. I mean, it would bring relative peace to the region. There's a whole lot of juicy exports with it, plenty of tourism. God, imagine U.S. citizens imagine all of the Christians that would travel to Israel if they didn't have to even use a passport because it was a territory like Puerto Rico or something like that. Why not? Yeah, it wouldn't be as much fighting. Oh, we could root out Hamas because it would be domestic territory then. It would just be a police sweep at that point. I'm sure that we could mobilize people and do pretty well. Anyway, I don't think that there's going to be lasting peace in that region for a very, very long time, which is sad. I wish differently from that, but we have to be pragmatic. We have to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality on the ground there is different from sort of the pie-in-the-sky mentality we get from a lot of political talking heads. Like, well, we can have a two-state solution. Wouldn't that solve the problem? No, it wouldn't. It'd be 2 states perpetually locked in combat, probably. That's the whole problem. You have the semi-autonomous Palestinian Authority constantly grinding gears with the Israelis and vice versa, and it never really fully lets up. It's basically, you don't have peace. You have a seeming calm at best. The Joker, Trump 2012, Styx 2023. No, it's Trump 2024. Tom McGrory sent $1. No comment. Thank you very much. Not a bad account. Why not do a humanitarian migration of the population of Palestine to North America? Canada and America need cultural enrichment. Yeah, no thanks. I think that'd be a bad idea. If we take over the region, though, that could work, as long as it belongs to us. Lance the Lion. Should employers be allowed to disallow the legal use of weed while not on the clock? I do not believe they should hold this power. No. If marijuana is legal in a state, then an employer should not be able to terminate an employee for getting high off the job. If they're high on the job, it'd be the same as if they drink beer on the job or something like that. They show up to work wasted, in other words. Then they can get shit canned. I'm a song. Happy belated channelversary, but my channel's still older, you young whippersnapper. Oh, botany 1-1. Yeah, those were the days. Yuki of Sakudo. I started watching you last year. Your push to better yourself I took to heart. Started the year 308 pounds. Today I'm at 320 pounds. Thanks and clank. Keep going. You can get it even lower than that. Good on you. It must feel a lot better too. Like when you go from, not insulting you or something, but like a really high weight to high weight, but it's a lot less. I mean, you've basically shed, a small-sized person's worth of weight. I don't know how you managed to do that. It must be a lot of diet and exercise, but if you keep up that good work, eventually you'll be slim. Get skinny. Or just get normal. Yeah, something like that. Not everyone needs to be a stick insect like me. Anorexic looking, like Eugenia Cooley mode. Let's see. Sigil Stone, got a story tip. Cox Media Group news stations across multiple states investigated Social Security overpayments and exposed tons of families to be fucked by the government, and they're proud of it. Huh. That's interesting. If you can link me in DM, I might be able to talk about that tomorrow, actually. Cox Media. Or, I spelled that wrong. Overpayments. Oh, that's from late September, though. That's an older news story. I'll take a look at that. I'll keep that open on the side and see if I need to talk about that. Mark Guidetti, why are you so focused on forcing a ceasefire on Israel, yet are silent on Turks and Azeri Muslims killing 110,000 Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh and silent on Arab Janjaweed murdering 150k Sudanese Christians? I've actually talked about both of them if you go back through the video list. As far as the Janjaweed rebels, that's been an issue since the thousands. I don't think anything we can do because the international community doesn't want to fucking do anything about it. We set up refugee camps with UN soldiers that aren't even allowed to pull the trigger, and that's basically their answer to it. As far as Armenia and forth, that's sort of in the Russian sphere zone. There's not as much we can do about it because if the US were up on the doors of Russia right now, that problem would be resolved. Not a banned account. Why are the Feds so strongly opposed to pot? Because if people smoke pot, they might not drink, and there's a big industry in the United States. President Irina Vladimirovna Putin. Recently, another game dev was attacked by shutting down their social media by the Twitterati Stasi. Do you see any solution left deciding what is allowed on the web? Supporting free speech, but I'll get called naive for saying so. I don't support turning their own methodology against them because the thing is, like, nobody can wield the ring of Sauron but Sauron, and so you have to become Aryan and then, back in with a moralistic right wing. I'm not going to be able to stand with it because, likewise, they would be trying to gun for me. So, I'm fucked in either case. I support classical liberalism. Play it so fast. Morning glory seeds is a joke. Never actually eat them. It is not a joke. It is an entheogen. Yes, heavenly blue morning glory seeds will get you high if you use them. If you do it properly and in the proper dose. Disclaimer, I'm not recommending that you use the substance because it's quasi sort of illegal kind of. You should not operate heavy machinery when you're high on psychedelics. I've used morning glory before. I did get high. I personally found it very, very enjoyable. Most people consider it a dirty high, so to speak, and they don't really enjoy it. I don't know. Other than the fact that you get nauseous and you get vasoconstriction, which can cause your muscles to sort of tense up, and that's sort of not necessarily fun. And if you have any heart or kidney problems, definitely don't use Morning Glory. Even extract it. You can extract it in distilled water or into certain liquors, or you can do it and take a pepper grinder, grind them up into a powder, and then mix it with applesauce so that you don't notice the terrible taste so much. By the way, don't use a used pepper grinder, or else the smell of pepper will forever haunt you. Adam Walker. I sent you some AI art for the Netflix adaptation of the Styx story via DM on Twitter. Yeah, I think I saw that. I liked it. I'll have to bump it up. Send me another message so that it's at the top in my request.